because that he had been often bound with fetters and chains, and the chains had been plucked asunder by him, and the fetters broken into pieces. Neither could any man tame him. Mark chapter 5, verse 4. Hello and welcome one and all to today's episode of ExiledGottomas. I am Gottomas, your forever DM, bringing you new updates about all things Path of Exile 2. In today's video, we will once again be going back to the character Legion, and how he has changed and evolved since the last time that I made a video about him. We will also be discussing the dramatic paradigm shift that he underwent to finally be able to push into T16s. Lastly, once we are ready to conclude today's episode, we will wind up by discussing a few things that I will be looking forward to in the upcoming patch that may go unnoticed by a more casual approach to the game, but are meaningful content in their own way. So, without further ado, sit back and relax, smoke you a little smoke, drink you a little drink, while I expound upon the growth of Legion and the choices made to arrive at the point that we are at today. So, before we get into the details of Legion's build, we need to first discuss the enormous paradigm shift that has taken place in his build and why I decided to do what I did. You see, when I was trying to get Legion to push further than base T14 maps, there were two major things that I noticed nearly simultaneously. The first was that I was having a bit of remorse on trying to start Legion as a shaman character for this league, because while I was enjoying the plant skills and how they could support my minions, I realized after comparing the Oracle character that I made and the shaman character that for plant-based stuff, the Oracle I feel is really a superior class because of all the extra nodes that they gain access to in the passive tree. Without these nodes, I was having a hard time scaling my plant to do much of anything in the high tiers of in-games, especially without resorting to inevitable critical and cast on crit comet, which is really just so totally meta that it's just unacceptable for my type of gaming. I'm just not a meta player. I like to go my own path, so to speak. So, to start with, I liked having my shield on that build, but after noticing my damage needed an uptick, I tried to remove it, so that I could equip a wand with +5 levels to all physical spells. After a few maps, I could tell it really wasn't making that much of a difference though, even with the reroll on my passive tree to try and my best to optimize it. No luck at all. So next I looked at the elemental skill trees and tried to make a freezing minion build. But while I could select the minions that had the best chance at freezing enemies, my own spellcasting seemed to struggle to actually get freezes to land. I could not afford to continue to try and push for more and more new gear and more respecs, as at the level I'm at currently, things begin to reach hundreds of divines very quickly, especially for minion builds. I thought long and hard and tinkered with a bunch of different cold skills, and over the course of probably 20 to 30 maps, trying my damnedest to make it reliable. But all of that work was to no avail. Even after adding in 8 skeletal frost mages into the army, I could not seem to reliably freeze enemies when I needed to. I then made a decision that would change the course of Legion for the rest of this season. And that was to switch Legion onto a different character that I had made, so that I had an entirely new class in Ascension that I could try to make function the way that I wanted it to. So after much consideration about my options, I decided to try it with Beelzebub, the Lich character that I had rolled, the Lord of Flies and Swarms. I took everything that made Beelzebub off and switched all of it over onto my Shaman, and then I took all of Legion's kit and I put it on my Lich in kind. This is the first time that I've had to do this since starting to play this game. But now, having done it, I am even more thankful that I make so many characters, and would say honestly that I'm now even more highly recommending it. By switching to the Lich, I got two huge benefits over the Shaman. One of them is their phylactery skill. It's actually astonishingly strong if you take it and you have either enough currency to buy a jewel that you need, or are good enough at crafting to be able to make one yourself. The second thing is the Unholy Might for minions, which gives a huge benefit to any minion that you have, as long as you support it the right way. One interesting thing to be able to point out is that with as many characters as I make, it is fairly easy for me to be able to entirely shift the focus of a character that I'm working on. So once again, let me say that I highly recommend making more than one character to play, especially if it's a new character, and even more especially if you have the time to do so. Even at the current state of the game, there should be numerous ideas for anyone seeking them out to be able to play. And if you're having trouble thinking of something, I would definitely recommend looking at a build guide or a build video. Truthfully though, anyone who's watching this is also always welcome to message me in Discord or in the game. I will be happy to help in any way that I can with my small but ever-growing amount of knowledge. The good thing the players at my table always said was that if they were stuck on how to create something in D&D, that I inevitably could help them figure it out if it was possible to do it in D&D. I will admit that I have nowhere near that level of knowledge in this game that I had over 20 years worth of DMing D&D campaigns. But I play this game every day, and I study the game like it's a PhD course. So even if I don't know how to do something right off the top of my head, the chances are that I can help figure it out, and I'm always willing to do so. So anyone listening to this, feel free, as I said, to reach out on Discord or in the comments down below. I will have a dedicated Discord server coming soon, but until then, feel free to DM me if you need. I am Gottomas, as I always say, so I should be pretty easy to find on Discord or any other platform that you're looking to find me on. Well, now that we've covered all of that, despite it only being summarized in a very cursory manner, let's dive into the real details of the build. Oh, one last thing before we get into the actual build details, I really should mention that I'm not throwing shade at the Shaman class by any means. I want that to be clear. Very, very clear. I understand how great Shaman is in general. It's just that this particular Ascendancy wasn't performing the way I wanted it to for this particular character. Now, that's been said, let's dive into the nitty-gritty of the build for Legion. Alright guys, so let's get into the build itself. I've debated on many ways to do this, but I think we're going to start with the passive tree since I was just talking about the big changes. So after I switched over to the Lich, I made sure to take all the way down to this area because the Unholy Might is actually so beneficial. If you can boost it, that's great. Gotta have that plus the maximum energy shield, and here's your phylactery if you've never seen it before. The phylactery is insanely powerful for a single class ascension node that you only have to take 2 points to get. Lastly, I just rounded it out here, mainly just because there are times that I find myself with power charges that I don't even normally use, but I'm trying to work them into the build, and we're just gonna have to see how it goes. So after that, we start up here at the top, and we're just going to go as much intelligence basically as we can and do intelligence and strength. Up here, once I got to here, I dropped down and immediately began to fill these in, trying to get defenses up the best way that I could. Then once I did that, I started back over here and began to branch out and move down this way since I knew I was wanting to do shields, and then moved up and over. Now here's where we get to a fun one. Once you got here, you see that there's some strength, so I was trying to max out the strength, but down here I noticed something cool. If we start here, you got increase in block chance, and then attack skills deal 10% damage while holding a shield. Same thing. And then the notice on here is, this notice is insane. The greatest defense notable node I've never seen this before, honestly, and I should have. These are all really powerful nodes if you're planning on using a shield. And I've used one before, I've just never really built as fully into the shield as I could. So, we moved up after getting our shield, and then we got this jewel socket here, and we dropped back down, and we took these. Now the reason we took these is because eventually we're going to be using Resonating Shield as one of our main sources of damage. So these kind of things add lots and lots of benefit, since area of effect is fairly small on Resonating Shield. Over here, once we finished up down that way, we started coming back up. And our main goal here, same thing. These are channeling skills. Now Resonating Shield is not a spell, but it is a channeling ability. So these are all very, very, very impactful, especially this one. 50% increased stun threshold while channeling is amazing. It is amazing. Eventually I'd like to have more stun threshold on this character. It's one of the very few weak spots, and when I die, it's usually because my shield broke, I got stunned, fell over, and then I got jumped and beat down. So we're going to work into it, but as of right now, this was one of the more powerful nodes that I found that I could take, just because of that 50% increase, because Resonating Shield is always channeling, so it's always got that 50% increase. We moved on up, and once again, got us another jewel, and then we took a few nodes here. Same thing, channeling skills, global defenses. These will actually be where we go to finish off our last 9 levels, will be partly this set of 4 nodes right here, to maximize as much of the channeling as we can. So after that, we moved out this way, and we got just every other shield node that we could find that was really, really powerful, really, really good. Tried to get as much block chance as we could. 100% increases from equipped shield is phenomenal. Yeah, 30% increased block chance is phenomenal. And the reduced 25 defenses is rough, but if you've built heavily on defense, it's really not that bad. So moving on, as now we started to backtrack and come up this way. We got energy shield recharge. Energy shield recharges when your minions are reformed, which is great because we are constantly in T15s and T16s losing, a minion here, a minion there, and it's providing us great benefit to have that energy shield constantly trying to replenish. We kept going up, and this node, if anybody has not realized, is one of the very few places you can get excess spirit on the passive node tree. So always, 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 if you are a minion player, make sure you catch these 3. These are very important. These nodes right here, again, just more defensive stuff. Trying to get the defenses better so that I could hold my own and help support my squad, despite the fact that I was primarily going to be relying on them for damage output and my shield. We came up this way, and first we made our beeline here, got this extra socket, but the main reason we came all the way up here was for this set of nodes. And everything seems normal and good, but if you have not taken this path just yet, that is another huge one. 12% increased reservation efficiency is massive amounts when you have large numbers of minions. So if you're building a minion build, I'd highly, highly, highly recommend using this node. Lastly, we kind of took a roundabout route, but we could have gone either way. More energy shield recharge, and we came across. But we also started branching out over here because of more energy shield. Same thing, same idea. These nodes, though, were double whammies because we wanted to have extra stun threshold. The more stun threshold we have, the more survivable we are, and the less deaths we have. And it's mainly because almost always our shield is up, so we lose very little damage as long as we have shield. Then, coming out this way, once again, if you haven't taken minion builds before, you should understand that this node right here, gigantic following, while it has a steep penalty with reduced reservation efficiency of minion skills, it also has your minions are gigantic. Now, if you were to equip a minion, each and each individual minion, you can actually put a hulking minion support gem on. And when you do that, it makes them gigantic. But it's one of their slots that's being taken up to do nothing but make them gigantic. Which gigantic has some really big benefits, don't get me wrong. But it's a support skill slot taken down. So if you can manage it and keep your defenses high enough, having all minions flat out be gigantic is enormously beneficial. So I just can't tell you enough how much value I think that this one little cluster right here actually brings you. So let's move on, and we'll get to the character now. I'll just do a quick overview. The main thing there is the energy shield you see, the armor, and our block chance being 47%. All of our resistances are pretty good. We could do a little bit better, but not too much. We don't need that much, to be honest with you. Everything else is pretty much normal. The one main thing that you do need to know is that movement speed modifier of 26. That's coming from Aminamu's gaze or whatever. It's right here. 1% increased movement speed for 15 spirit up to a maximum of 40%. So when you have 397 spirit, that's how we get the 26% on the movement speed. So that covers our basic character and passives. Let's go jump ahead over to, let's do our equipment first. That'll have pretty limited detail as far as stuff we need to go into. First, our scepter. This scepter is insanely expensive. It's one of the reasons why I said that it's very, very, very important to kind of get your minion build right the first time, because you will start to run out of divs really quick, even if you are rich, the moment you start trying to buy like min-maxed versions of minion gear. I think I heard somewhere that the minion stuff is just a lot rarer to roll, and as a result of that, it just becomes infinitely more expensive. It seems like the top level scepters in the game are just extraordinarily expensive, really and truly. Now let's go ahead over to shield. Now this shield, if I'd had 20 more divines to spend into it, I could have gotten a shield with over 1500 armor. The big thing that you need to realize about the armor on the shield is that the shield, when you do like shield bash or shield wall or resonating shield, all the damage output from your shield is coming from the base number of all of its defensive modifiers from armor, evasion, and energy shield. So whatever the combined number of that is, that's how much you're going to get for your damage output. And there's no, from everything I can research and everything I can tell from gameplay, there's no added benefit to using a smaller number, like a high level energy shield that only has 300 armor. It doesn't give you extra damage because energy shield is being used instead of armor. So your best thing to do when you're working on an armor shield build, not an armor shield build, but when you're working on a shield build in general, is to get the one with the highest armor. That number is always going to be the highest. And if you can do that, then yeah, you can scale up your shield stuff very, very highly without much effort going into it. So, always try and keep an eye out for those really high rolled shields. And to be honest with you, the tower shields are by far some of the best options I've seen as far as the armor goes. I tried to do the cast on block shield because it had like 500 armor. I wasn't doing hardly any damage, so I went back in, I spent about 30 divine, and I got this. Alright, moving on. Now, this is another really expensive item that I actually got really lucky on and crafted myself. So it came with +2 levels of all minion skills and the other stats. Then I desecrated it and got lucky with the increased spirit reservation efficiency. I did have to do a re-roll omen to ensure that I got that energy, that spirit reservation. And then when I corrupted it, I got the secondary socket. So it was just a beautiful luck of the draw kind of craft. This is the most expensive thing on the kit. This cost me I think about 500 divine, if I'm being honest. And it's because you got a T1 on the increased spirit reservation efficiency, and you've got a super fast recharge rate, you've got good energy shield without being overpowered energy shield, and you've got really good spirit. Plus 50 to spirit is top notch. And when you combine all these together, yeah, this item gets really expensive really fast. The moment you try and get a higher ranking spirit roll on there, alongside the spirit reservation of skills, everything just exponentially skyrockets. It's astonishing how much it was. There were some that were way more powerful than this, but Lord knows I didn't have 4,000 divs to be able to spend on it. So, you save up, you get something that you really can make work. But this is, you have to understand, this is a very expensive build. I'm not going to gloss over it and be like, anybody can do this. This would not be a good league start build. It's good for your pushing hard levels of in-game content in a really unique way. But definitely not a starter build. If you don't have any currency to put into this, unless you're just a master at crafting in this game, things will be a little bit difficult. Next up, the amulet. Now this is another one that I bought with the +3 level to all minion skills and the spirit. I'm the one who desecrated it, and I'm the one who added the allocation of a passus node, and I'm the one who added the quality. So while it was very expensive to begin with, if I turned around and sold it now, it'd be worth even more by a long shot. I've thought about corrupting it, but then I shy away. So it just is what it is. But yeah, again, once you get spirit and minion skills, things get crazy expensive really, really fast. First off, one ring and then the other ring. Now you'll notice that both of these are unset rings. And the reason that I would suggest all minion players use these is the simple fact that unset rings give you the additional skill slot. When you're stacking up numbers of minions, you run out of skill selection slots very, very fast, actually. It's very hard to actually keep a variety of minions versus just maxing out the numbers on one minion. And as I explained in the very first Legion video, that I wasn't looking to do like 100 skeletons. I was looking to do each individual party member fulfilling a role to balance it out as if I was playing a D&D game. Now, the one thing I did do here was the desecration and corruption. I did both of those. I bought it. I don't remember how much this one cost me, but I bought it for the fire, cold, and lightning. Everything else was just gravy. So yeah, that's about it on that item. This one, same thing. I bought it because it had fire resistance and chaos resistance. I also liked the little bit of rarity item increase, just because who doesn't need more rarity. And then when I desecrated it, I really did like the 24% increased spell damage while in full energy shield. Since I don't use spells, when I do get another Omen of Light, I'll be using it on this ring in particular to get rid of that spell damage and try and roll something else. Coming up next is our gloves. These I actually bought just the way that they are, and I bought them once again for fire, cold, and chaos resistance. I cannot emphasize enough how important getting your resistances up are. Now, these are the bones of Uller, and I'm considering removing these. However, I paid a fair amount for this one because of that 30% increased reservation efficiency of skills which create undead minions. That alone was worth more than the trouble. And the only reason I'm actually considering taking it out is simply because it's got such low defense built into it. I could very easily get another Aminamu's gaze and put it into a new pair of boots. I just haven't found boots that I really, really like, and I haven't been willing to give up that 30% reservation efficiency that it gives you. Not as of yet, anyway. But suffice to say, if I was going to upgrade something, this would be probably the very first thing that I would do is upgrade these boots. Alright, the belt. This belt wasn't too terribly expensive. It was only like 4 divine. Excuse me. 5 divine. But I got it to be the main central figure holder of my fire, cold, and lightning resistance. Because with each successful leveling up, you start to run into more and more penalties on your resistance markers. So, on to the charms. Since I don't have very much rarity to begin with, this one is great. But the main reason I keep it equipped actually is because I like that 55 guard. That's a really powerful little bonus to get when you just happen to kill an enemy. It's super powerful in such a simple way. So next up is Fall of the Axe, Silver Charm. Anybody who's played this game at all, under any circumstances, knows that slowing effects in this game can literally overwhelm and kill even the strongest characters in this game. So having immunity to slows is amazing. Having immunity to slows that grant onslaught is even way more amazing. For anyone who doesn't know, onslaught is very simple. Grants 20% increased skill speed and 10% increased movement speed. Very simple, but very powerful. Last up, we got the one that makes you immune to poison. I run this one because when you run into a high-level mob, especially one that has like a modifier that has like always poisons, if you don't have immunity to poison and you get struck, it's going to be a problem because they do so much damage with that poison. You really need a way to mitigate it, and elemental resistances don't do anything. So, hence having a I don't even remember what these are called. I think it's an amethyst charm. But the biggest thing here is that it makes you immune to poison, but it also gives you flasks of each other kind that you need. So if you're starting to take on extra damage and you really are running low on flasks, this will help you get your flask back up. And this is one that I actually made myself. I wish I could say more about it. It's just luck of the roll. Making sure I use perfect augmentation roll, orbs, that kind of thing. There could be a lot more things that I can do with potions, but as of yet, I am just barely scratching the surface of what the potion is like and what they can do, all the different unique ones, that kind of thing. So this one and this one, both they're just stuff I bought on the market to just try and max out. So I mean, take that for what you will. I'm just not necessarily a potion crafter. I don't know that part of the game yet. Alright, so now we've covered all of the inventory, we've covered all of the passive skills, and just a base overarching coverage of the character itself. Let's dive into the actual skills themselves. So Purity of Lightning comes with our scepter, but it's a free thing you can turn on. It grants us extra bonus lightning resistance, which is great, and it's free. So there is no reason not to turn it on. But I think there may be a bug or something, because if you put in something that's costs spirit, like Vitality 2, if you put that into a Purity of Lightning and you turn it on, I don't ever see my spirit go down as a result of that, even though Vitality should have a cost, and it does in all other aspects. I just can't seemingly get a cost when it goes into these types of buffs. So, bug or not, it is what it is. So next is Raised Shield. This is as simple as it gets. It provides me a base layer of defense, but I also don't use this actually at all anymore, despite the fact that I have it quitted out, just because if I did need to use it, I'd want to have it finished. But the biggest thing here that you can take is Deadly Resolve and Steadfast 2. If you do those two things, the shield kind of does pretty good. I mean, Enduring Impact's not bad, and mobility is great. You know, being able to move 25% faster, basically, it's always really good. So, I mean, that's it, though. Raised Shield is not complicated. It's not hard. And I wish I could fit it into the build a little bit more, just the basic raised shield. But it kind of becomes superfluous or overkill if I try to use that while I already have Resonating Shield. Because if I've got Resonating Shield, it counts as doing this, but also does damage. So, take that for what you will. If anybody finds a better use, let me know. I'll be happy to talk with you about it and discuss the theory. So, next up is the Wolfpack. Now, I went with Wolfpack. At first, I had many different types of companions. I must have run through an absolute, just a fuck ton of companions. Maybe 30, maybe 35 different companions that I've captured over the course of this season. And I noticed that because the companion nodes, Tame Beast, fall within the spears, you need a very high dexterity score to make it work. Dex is my dump stat on this character. Couldn't make it work. So how do you get a companion, an actual companion, not a minion, actual companion that doesn't cost you extraordinary amounts of dexterity to equip a high level item onto? Well, Wolfpack fits perfectly. It takes the benefits of companions that you can equip to it, but also has multiple entities instead of one, which is great. And then finally, it's a huge benefit because it's a strength and intelligence base. So if you have both of those maxed out, or working towards maxing, Wolfpack is only going to scale up and be better for you. You're not running a backup plan, so to speak. So then we got Ramiro's Requital. Hopefully that is self-explanatory. And we've got Amandomu's Tithe. Now this thing is very interesting, but I can't figure out if it's bugged or not. Because it says Abyssal Monster modifier for 20 seconds when a minion from supported skills dies. And you can have a maximum of 3 Abyssal Monster modifiers gained this way. Now, all the time I get the Abyssal Crag or whatever, the floating balls of doom that fly and hover around stuff. I get that all the time. I also get this big green aura all the time. That looks... it's huge. It covers up 2/3 of the screen probably. And I've still yet to figure out exactly what it does. But I think it's like a physical damage aura based on just the most basic testing that I can get done. Dialia's Desire. Looking at that, if you've not seen this skill, it's very self-explanatory. And if you... 10% quality of supported skills is huge because the more more quality that summoned companion skills have, the cheaper they are on your reservation. And so if you're already starting at like 60 on your reservation, this would lower it by 6 points, which is great. You just got to do your basic math, and it's fantastic. Then I've got Bleed 3, and I picked Bleed 3 because the Wolfpack has at least, I think, 8 members in it currently. And as a result, they're constantly spread out, and they're constantly biting things and making things bleed. It's just a very good way to spread bleeds, and a free source of damage that just seems to always be pretty helpful and impactful. Deep Cuts 2 is just support the bleeds. So that's it on Wolfpack. Now we are going to get into more discussion about Bleed 3 here shortly when we get to some of the other characters. Next up, Shield Wall. This thing is insane. I've played Shield Wall a little bit in last season, and I got to tell you that Shield Wall is surprisingly a lot stronger this season, and I think it mainly has to do with a couple of lineage gems. Usually I would take like Fortress, because Fortress allows you to cast your Shield Wall in a big circle around you. That's a protective barrier. But I found on Citadel, and instead of creating Shield Wall, now I create Shield Fissures. And then I found Calm's Madness. Same thing, more Fissures. And Culling Strike 2, it actually works out a lot better than you would imagine, because if something is low on life and you blow up all the shield walls, it'll just take them out instantly. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten these guys simply by rapid casting Shield Wall. This is a really cool skill. I have not seen this skill before. I don't know when it got here. I don't know if I've just always missed it or what. But you can have, currently, if I cast and I meet the requirements for this, I can get up to 12 of these little skittering stones, and they're every bit as strong, if not stronger, than the unearth skeleton scorpion things. So if you've not used this, definitely recommend trying it out. And then brutality. It's shield wall. It shields. It's physical. That should be simple. Just boost up the damage. Now, fortifying cry. Once again, we get into pretty simple, basic territory. We're trying to make our shield stronger. Simple enough. Corrupting cry is great. It does give us a little bit of extra damage, especially because almost nothing in the game has like a resistance or immunity to corrupted blood, at least that I can find. If I'm wrong, let me know down in the comments. I'd love to know about it so I can learn more about the game. Cooldown recovery 2, just to make it happen faster. Prolonged duration 2, to make the bonuses to the shield last longer. Magnified area 2, makes sense. We want that corrupted blood to spread further. And batter shout. And considering you're using resonating shield, this actually is a very powerful skill. It's just very interesting. This is another one alongside, what was it? The corrupting cry that I've never really used before. And I could have, and skittering stones. Those three things I've never really used before. They may be new, they may have been here last patch, but I've not tinkered with them. And all three of them are just staggeringly awesome. So now we're getting into our bread and butter damage. Resonating shield, if you don't know, you just beat your scepter or your mace or whatever against your shield. It makes a shockwave, spreads out from you in a 360-degree circle, and breaks armor in duration. At first, when I first started tinkering with this, I was actually using like the armor break, armor explosion, all that stuff. And what I found out was that Resonating Shield does so much armor break, it is a moot point. It's what it is. It's just very unnecessary to add more armor stuff to it because it's already doing such a good job. So instead, we have Rapid Attacks 2, self-explanatory. Deadly Resolve, that once again is for while your shield is up and protecting you. Uruk Smelting. Now this one is actually really important because of the permanent damage. And it increases your armor break. It's the only one on this skill now. But I mainly took it because of the permanent 5 damage. That's insanely powerful. Steadfast 2. Saw that just a little bit ago. No big deal. And Retaliate. Now, Retaliate's interesting. Usually you wouldn't want your more damage to be attributed to your stun bar. However, if you are constantly running fortifying or resonating shield, if you're constantly doing that, then what ends up happening is you're going to take damage almost constantly, literally. And when you take damage, it'll fill up your stun bar on your shield, and when it does, you're getting closer and closer to getting stunned. But until that happens, your damage just keeps going up. So it's a very powerful base level skill gem to add into anything that has a blocking mechanic. It's the best way I know how to put it. On to Shield Charge. This is your movement skill. This is very rarely do I use this for damage. It's more like a get the fuck out of the way kind of thing, or an initiation. If I see an enemy all the way across the screen, I can Shield Charge at them. If I hit them, great. If I don't, it gets me close enough to do Resonating Shield, and then we're money after that. Stomping Ground, simple enough to understand. Momentum, once again, simple enough to understand. Culling Strike, never know when you're going to get that last strike in from afar, especially on big rare things. It's nice to be able to dash in, and if you hit, they just die. Bleed 4. Now this is where you get interesting, because Bleed 4 says you can't do extra, you can't cause bleeds. But we don't need to cause bleeds because our wolf pack causes bleeds. Now, whenever we shield charge something and our wolf pack has already damaged it, then we're going to deal more melee physical damage, and we're going to inflict incision, and it's just a benefit all the way around, to be honest with you. And lastly, life drain. If I do end up getting lucky and I kill something with that culling strike on the shield charge, then life drain just helps keep me topped off. I don't have much issues with life, but since I'm not life stacking, it's nice to be able to recover life just in any way possible. Best way I know how to put it. Now this is an interesting skill. If anybody has not ever used Iron Ward, the way it works is as you take damage over time, not the damage over time type of damage, but just as you're playing through the map, as you're taking damage, this thing will store up damage that is physical, that your armor has absorbed, your shield has absorbed, and it dumps it all into a pool. And then you just, once it's full, you activate that ability, the Iron Ward, and it explodes. And when it explodes, it does a massive amount of physical damage, and it does a massive amount of AoE range. It just has a ton of AoE range. So Iron Ward, actually, for anybody who hasn't played with this, I'd say is one of the strongest skills in the game, especially if you are a fairly tanky or super tanky build. Once again, we have Bleed 4. Same thing. We want to increase the damage against bleeding enemies and inflicting as much incision as we can. Brutality 3, self-explanatory. We're increasing that physical damage. Stun 2. I'm still tinkering with this. I think this does work in some instances because I have seen it work, especially in packs, but it doesn't really seem to affect me getting with the boss very much. Inexorable critical, because I can't do Iron Ward so often, it becomes best to have this on there because it's on. I mean, I can only cast this as I get up to 100%. If you are getting up to 100% that rapidly that you are no longer gaining benefit from this, there's something else going wrong with your build. We got to figure out what's happening to you. But as I said earlier, I'm always willing to do that. Expanse, that's just a self-explanatory. You just got to make sure that you're increasing your area because the amount of damage this thing does is actually quite a lot, actually. We're going to skip the Pale Angel for now. That's our first Spectre, and we're going to get Scavenge Plating. Now, Scavenge Plating is... I'm still on the fence. Scavenge Plating may be the way I end up going, just because it does give great armor stack and it does give thorns. However, Barkskin also has its own benefits, so I may end up tinkering around with Scavenge Plating and Barkskin, but I'm just gonna have to. I just got to tinker with it, see which one ends up being the most beneficial. Thornskin 1 gives us a little bit more thorns. Armor Demolisher, prolonged duration, physical mastery. None of these things should be surprising to really anybody, if I'm being honest with you. This is all pretty simple. The biggest thing about Scavenge Plating is that if you don't have thorns already, it will give you thorns, which is nice. It's a nice little benefit. But I mainly just use it for the extra armor. That's what it boils down to. So now let's get into the Specters. Now we have Pale Angel. Pale Angel does lightning damage. She seems to hit pretty hard. She's got like a laser beam lightning blast. She's got like a couple of chaining lightning blasts. So we just added chain, coursing current, rapid casting, execute, and behead. Behead is a cool one. And I'm still waiting to kind of see it take effect on her when she gets lucky and she gets that last strike. Because getting 2 modifiers for 20 seconds on a minion is pretty badass. I mean, that bumps them up to the strength of a companion. And, I mean, how could you pass that up? There's just no possible way. It's so good. Next up is the Eternal Knight. Now, I picked the Eternal Knight. He's interesting. Because as a Spectre, he still gets his defensive against range stuff. I don't know about you, but I have many a times in this game come around a corner, exposed more of the map, and then got just decimated by like, I don't know, 35 like lightning balls or fireballs, just get dropped because of ranged fire. And as long as you kind of baby him just a little bit and keep him with you, the Eternal Knight, if he gets to go in first and through like a doorway and they're firing ranged, he's going to literally spit those ranged attacks back at them. That's the best part about him, is that he stops ranged attacks from getting to you or getting to him. They reflect back, and they do a decent amount of damage. The Rune Knight. For anybody who hadn't seen this knight before, she's kind of hard to find. I think I got her actually out of an expedition, maybe. And she is really powerful lightning caster. I mean, a really powerful lightning caster. And so I just boosted up her lightning stuff. I gave her Behead for the same reason I gave Behead a minute ago. Rapid casting, exploit weakness. Now this is great when you consider the fact that I constantly am breaking armor, that this thing can then take that boost and use it in her lightning attacks. It's great. It's a great little gem as long as you are making sure their armor is broken. Then we got Stormfire, which is just cool. I'm still trying to figure out exactly when it's proccing and when it's not, but it seems to be working pretty well from what I can tell. And Shock Conduction, you know, you're trying to use your Rune Knight's electricity to shock as many things as you can. So, get shock. Last up, and seems like a lot, but that's simply because the Spectre builds need those unset rings to give them 2 extra skills. We should have been done by now, but 2 extra skills is 2 extra skills. Now we've gotten the Forgotten Stag. Now this thing seems to be one of the most underrated specters I have seen in this game. And I was informed earlier by somebody in Discord that the Forgotten Stag has 2 different forms, one of which has like double the HP of the regular one and no other benefit. But double the HP could be huge because I'm running Infernal Legion, which Infernal Legion 3 takes 30% of their maximum life and then deals it out in an aura of fire damage per second. So if you have double the HP, would be absolutely insane. In fact, if we go back to it and we go to our advanced info, I mean, that'd put you at 33,000 life, which would be the highest life I have ever seen in this game. I think the Behemoth and the Bogfell Commoner both have like 24,000 life base, but I can't get, you know, besides the support gems and stuff, I can't get them to find any higher. So if this is true and there actually is a rare version of this Forgotten Stag, 33,000 life would be insane. So just keep that in, like, kind of in the back of your mind. But the problem with the Forgotten Stag is it, unlike, say, Black Bark Demolishers, which come with a built-in fire resistance of 75%, the Forgotten Stag has 0. He has no fire resistance at all. So despite the fact that he hits really hard with both his charge attack and slam attacks, he also, with the Infernal 3, is doing lots of damage. But if you add in Tekrod's Revenge, now even if he is about to die, he doesn't for 20 extra seconds, which makes the fire last longer, makes the burns more intense, and the Tekrod's also gives him a bonus in size and gives him Soul Eater. And what's really, really interesting is, for those of you who don't know, the Forgotten Stag has a charge attack. And if he charges enemies and they get caught up on his antlers, he will push them the length of his charge. So he is constantly rearranging the battlefield however he charges and moves people around. So if you add in Tech Rods and you get, when he gets to Soul Eater and his size grows by another 50% on top of being gigantic, because this one does stack, he can truly move an entire pack away from you completely. If you've not tinkered around with Tech Rods, man, I highly recommend it. So then we got Magnified Area to boost off our Infernal Legion 3. We have Rapid Attacks 3 because he's doing damage based on Infernal Legion, not around his normal slams and charges. So let's increase their speed, lower their damage, and that way his Infernal Legion is doing the primary source. Last up, Elemental Army. Like I said, he does not have any fire res to begin with. So just giving him 30% is not great by any means the word, but it's not bad. It definitely is a small benefit, like a ribbon kind of support skill, and it may end up getting taken out, but as of right now, I'm pretty happy with the way it goes. So, I think that might be about it on the character, if I'm being honest with you. Alrighty, now that we have covered the build from start to where it currently is, I would like to discuss a few final things that I will be looking forward to in the coming patches that I'm not sure anyone but minion players will fully realize, but that actually could make a huge difference in whether a build was viable in the end game or not. So what are these things, you might be asking yourself? To start with, let's talk about what happens when you are examining new minions in the game. See, because we are still in early access, some minions are missing very vital tooltips that others have, and those tooltips tell the player what kind of damage the minion does, it points to abilities that they have, it also gives you information about their resistances a lot of times, their health pool a lot of times, and some minions have this and some are not. It's just it's a new game, it's in the works, so they haven't fully fleshed it out yet. But this makes a huge difference between the viability of a Spectre or not. And I will say, it gets better every patch. So while it won't necessarily be something that is advertised as having taken place, being released in patch notes or something, it is something that they are adding more and more detail to as the months roll on. Another big thing about this type of information that makes me excited to have more and more of it come to the game is the fact that certain minions might not scale particularly well with certain types of support skill gems. But if you had a roadmap of everything Spectre can do by itself, it becomes a lot easier for players to build around and ensure the accuracy of the supports they're using, and making each minion function to the greatest capabilities it can under the purview of what you want it to do. Something else that's a huge thing for minion players that is getting better every patch, thank God, is that some minions are seriously bugged. And by that, I mean that they function as intended when they are enemies, but once you raise or tame them, they won't do the same thing. It could be that the AI controlling them is just simply too stupid, and it's choosing not to use those skills. And in some instances, this is for sure the case. However, there are many specters and companions in this game that even if you do raise them and they are performing all of their skills accurately, they're bugged and will not do any damage at all. It's not weak. It does literally 0 damage. And while this can be frustrating, it is certainly yet again getting better every patch as they make changes and improvements to the game. In fact, a perfect example of this is the Tahoa Mystic that we mentioned in the previous Legion build. You see, in 0.3, the Mystic could be tamed, and everything seemed to work, but they did literally 100% 0 damage thanks to the damage bug affecting them. However, in 0.4, suddenly, they worked perfectly. So while it was not released in the patch notes, it is something that they fixed. So for minion players, or anyone interested in rolling a minion character, I definitely would say that one of the most fun aspects of this game is each season hunting down and testing all of the specters and companions that you want to, and in each new patch with the sole purpose of trying to find out new versions. How do I put this? You're trying to find out new versions that got implemented into the new league, and you want them to suddenly be fixed. That's what I'm getting around to. The fun part is to find out whether or not one that was bugged previously has been fixed, and whether or not it hasn't. Another thing that this really actually interacts with, to be honest with you, is the fact that if you've got everything listed, everything is up in front and you can see every part of it, there are actually minions in this game that have hidden interactions that aren't listed anywhere with intent and purpose. A perfect example of this is actually the Pale Tide Crasher, which for those of you who don't know, is an enemy that you usually can only find in the prison map of Act 4. The Pale Tide Crasher uses tidal waves to push and pull players all over the map. Now here is the hidden interaction. If you raise that specter while you are in the prison map, he works perfectly. Everything seems to go off without a hitch, no issues. However, the hidden interaction occurs once he leaves the prison map. You see, his tidal wave needs the map to be flooded as a source of water for his waves to appear. In that one map, he is awesome, but in any other map, he is downright worthless, and it's all because of that specific type of interaction occurring. So, that you'll find as a minion player, you get joy in very, very, very many different ways of hunting down the minions, testing the minions, learning about the supports, looking for hidden interactions. You name it, minion playstyles give you a lot of viability and a lot of fun, as long as you do enjoy solving puzzles and things like that. But I think that might be about all the time that we've got for today's episode, as I've already majorly talked your ears off, I'm sure. If you enjoyed the content, as always, please leave a like down below and subscribe to my channel. It only takes a few seconds and it really makes a huge difference in YouTube's algorithm. Please join me next time for my newest video, in which we will be discussing another revisit of past characters and taking an in-depth look at more of the build-outs. If you have any requests for which character you would like me to finish off next for next episode, feel free to let me know down in the comments. I'm Gottomas, your forever DM and fellow exile, wishing you luck in all of your own build-outs, theory crafts, and adventures in Rayclast. Thank you guys, as always, for joining me. Have a great day.